All right. So today we're diving into something a little different. The mind of Mike Tyson.
Oh, yeah,
You probably know him as Iron Mike, right? The boxing legend.
for sure.
But today's deep dive is about a totally different kind of fight. His journey to inner peace.
Interesting.
We're going to be going through this interview where he really opens up about his life and what he's learned.
Yeah, it's fascinating how he had this, incredible aggression in the ring, but then when he speaks, it reveals this deep internal struggle for peace. It's like what we see on the outside isn't always the whole story.
Exactly. And whether you're listening because you're into personal transformation or curious about how people find peace or just looking for some wisdom from some unexpected places, this deep dive is for you.
Absolutely.
Tyson's story starts in a really, really tough environment. We're talking survival mode where fighting wasn't a choice. It was a way of life.
Yeah, and that's crucial to understanding his journey. Imagine growing up constantly feeling threatened.
Right.
It makes sense that peace was a foreign concept to him early on.
So how does somebody with that background even begin to find peace?
Well, Tyson talks about this realization he had this same aggression that helped him survive on the streets became his biggest internal battle.
Wow.
And that's when his search for peace really began.
Huh.
It wasn't about fame or money. It was about silencing that inner turmoil.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you go from that kind of intensity to actually finding peace? What did he do?
Well, he talks about using a few different tools. One of them was meditation, and not just like in a vague, it's good for you way. He actually explains how it helped him focus his mind.
Interesting.
You think about someone with his energy learning to quiet those thoughts. That's powerful.
Yeah, that's quite a shift. So meditation was one tool. What else?
He also emphasizes connecting with nature.
Okay.
He talks about finding a sense of calm in gardens and feeling grounded outdoors.
I can see that nature can be so calming. Was he out there doing like intense hikes or something? What did connecting with nature even look like for him?
That's a great question. He doesn't go into specifics about the how, but he highlights the importance of that connection. Maybe it was as simple as tending a garden or just sitting under a tree,
Right.
just being present in nature.
And of course, therapy, right?
Absolutely. Therapy was key. He credits it with helping him unpack the roots of his anger and process those difficult experiences from his past.
So it sounds like he really put in the work using these tools to kind of chip away at that inner turmoil.
He did, and that's a key takeaway for our listener.
Yeah.
Tyson isn't just talking about abstract concepts. He's giving us concrete examples of practices that have real benefits.
Right.
Like meditation can help with stress and focus. Nature can be restorative. And therapy can provide a safe space to confront those difficult emotions. These are all things you could explore further if you're interested.
It's inspiring, honestly, to see someone transform like that. But it wasn't just about the practices, right? He had to shift his mindset, too.
Exactly. He talks about forgiveness, and he has this really powerful quote. Holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Wow, that's intense. So he's saying forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from that bitterness.
Exactly. He realized that holding on to anger was only hurting him. It's like forgiveness is about setting yourself free. Have you ever
Yeah.
felt that way? Like anger was just eating you up inside.
Oh, absolutely. I think we all have at some point.
And that's what makes his message so relatable. He's acknowledging that pain, but he's showing us a way out.
It's tough, but powerful.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that holding on to anger doesn't change the past. It just poisons the present.
It really is. Speaking of tough lessons, Tyson also addresses the whole money equals happiness thing.
Right, a lot of people assume that wealth just automatically brings peace. But Tyson debunks that myth.
So how did he address that? Did he talk about like specific experiences?
Well, he talks about how money can actually amplify pre-existing tendencies.
Yeah.
He's basically saying, if you're an angry person, money might just give you more to be angry about.
That's a really interesting way to put it. It's not the money itself, it's what you bring to it. But if it wasn't through wealth, how did he find peace?
He emphasizes finding meaning beyond money, especially through giving back. He talks about how helping others brought him a sense of purpose and fulfillment.
Which makes sense, right? We hear a lot about how altruism, actually helping others, can boost your own well-being. So it's like he's saying money won't buy you peace, but maybe giving some of it away can help you find it.
Exactly. And he even shares the story about going back to his old neighborhood, Brownsville, after he had become successful. And he sees these kids growing up in the same tough environment he did.
Oh, wow.
And he doesn't just hand out money. He starts a foundation to help them get opportunities he never had. And it's not just about like throwing money at the problem. He talks about mentoring them, sharing his own experiences, and trying to guide them towards a better future.
That's amazing. It's like
Yeah.
he saw a chance to break the cycle to give those kids a different path.
Yeah. And at least his advice for young people in general.
Right.
He talks about patience being present, letting go of what you can't control.
It's interesting hearing that from somebody who lives such a, high octane life.
It is, and it speaks to a deeper understanding that he's gained. These aren't just empty phrases. They're actually core principles of mindfulness,
Hmm.
which is gaining so much traction these days.
It's funny, right? Here's this boxing legend, and he's saying things that sound like they're straight out of a mindfulness app.
Right.
Do you think finding peace is even harder now with all the distractions we have?
It's a great question. It makes you think about how the concept of peace itself might be evolving. In Tyson's younger days, maybe it was more about quieting that internal storm of emotions.
Right.
But now in our hyper-connected world, it might also be about navigating that constant external chaos, filtering out the noise, and finding ways to stay grounded amidst all the stimulation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people listening can relate to that feeling of being overwhelmed.
Absolutely.
It's like, how do you find peace when everything's screaming for your attention?
And Tyson's story offers some clues. He emphasizes the importance of slowing down, tuning into yourself, and focusing on what truly matters.
Okay, so meditation, connecting with nature therapy, those are some tools for dealing with like the inner chaos. But what about the external stuff? Like, how do you handle the pressures and expectations of the world?
Oh, this is where his message about self-love comes in.
Okay.
Talks about the importance of recognizing your own worth, embracing your imperfections, and accepting yourself for who you are.
That's something I think a lot of us struggle with.
Fair.
We're always comparing ourselves to others, striving for some unattainable ideal. It's so refreshing to hear someone like Mike Tyson say, hey, it's okay to not be perfect.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And his message is incredibly relevant to the pressures we face today with social media, the constant barrage of advertising.
Right.
It all feeds into this idea that we need to be something we're not. And Tyson's pushing back against that and saying, you are good enough just as you are.
It's like he's giving us permission to just be ourselves, flaws and all, which is so liberating when you think about it.
And it ties into this growing field of self-compassion research. They're finding that treating yourself with kindness, the same way you treat a friend, actually helps you cope with challenges and setbacks.
So it's not just about feeling good. It actually helps you navigate the tough stuff.
Exactly. And this goes beyond just individual well-being. Tyson also hints at the broader implications.
Okay.
He talks about how holding on to anger only hurts you, not the person you're angry at. He emphasizes forgiveness as a way to liberate yourself from that bitterness.
Which is powerful because it suggests that maybe if we all practiced a little more self-compassion and forgiveness, the world would be a more peaceful place overall.
That's a great point. And it leads us to Tyson's view of spirituality. He talks about connecting to something larger than himself, but he doesn't get into specific religions or dogmas.
That's important because spirituality is such a personal thing. For some people, it's about religion. For others, it's about nature or art or just feeling connected to something beyond themselves.
Exactly. And that's what makes Tyson's perspective so relatable. He's not saying this is the one right way to find meaning. He's acknowledging that everyone's path is unique, and it's about finding what resonates with you.
It's about that individual search for meaning and purpose, however you define it.
Exactly. Whether it's through religion, nature, art, or community service, finding that connection to something bigger can offer solace and perspective. It speaks to that universal human need for meaning-making, that desire to be part of something larger than ourselves.
And it shows that even someone known for outward aggression like Mike Tyson still has that yearning for something beyond the material world.
Absolutely. And it brings us to the question of how he actually made that shift, how he went from a life of chaos to finding inner peace.
Okay, so we've talked about the tools he used, meditation, nature therapy, and the importance of like shifting your mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But how does all of that come together? Did he have any specific advice on like how to start making changes in your own life?
Well, he stresses the importance of taking action, of not just thinking about these things, but actually doing them.
Right.
He encourages people to try different practices to experiment and see what works for them.
So it's not about finding the perfect method. It's about finding what resonates with you and actually putting it into practice.
Right. He talks about how consistency is key, how these practices become more powerful the more you do them.
Okay.
He emphasizes the importance of making them a regular part of your life, not just something you do when you're feeling stressed.
It's like building a muscle, right? The more you work it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. And he also talks about the importance of patience. He acknowledges that change doesn't happen overnight, that finding peace is a journey, not a destination.
It's a reminder that we're all works in progress. But it's encouraging to hear that someone like Mike Tyson, who came from such a difficult background, was able to find peace. It makes you think, hey, if he can do it, maybe I can too.
And that's a powerful message.
Yeah.
He's not presenting himself as some enlightened guru.
Uh-huh.
He's sharing his own struggles and triumphs in a way that makes them relatable and inspiring.
It's like he's saying, look, I'm still figuring things out, but here's what's worked for me.
And that authenticity is what makes his story so compelling.
So as we wrap up this part of the deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listener? What can they learn from Mike Tyson's journey?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that peace is possible,
Mm.
even for someone who seems as far from it as Mike Tyson. He shows us that it's not about erasing the past or becoming someone different.
Right.
It's about finding ways to manage those inner demons, develop a healthier relationship with yourself, and connect to something larger than your own ego.
It's about the journey, not the destination. And it's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. And I think another important takeaway is that we all have the capacity for growth and transformation. Tyson's story is a reminder that no matter where you come from or what you've been through, you can always choose a different path.
It's never too late to start your own journey to peace. Speaking of journeys, Tyson also talks about the importance of mentorship and giving back. He didn't just find peace for himself, he actively sought to help others find it too.
Right. He talks about how helping others gave his life a sense of purpose and meaning. He realized that his experiences, even the painful ones, could be used to make a positive impact on the world.
And that's something we can all learn from. It's not just about finding peace for ourselves, it's about creating a more peaceful world for everyone.
And that leads us to the next part of Tyson's story, where he talks about the importance of recognizing the interconnectedness of all things. He's saying that true peace comes from understanding that we're all part of something larger than ourselves, that our actions have ripple effects, and that by helping others, we ultimately help ourselves.
That's a pretty powerful concept. It's like he's saying that peace isn't just an individual state of mind, it's also a collective effort. It's about creating a world where everyone feels safe, supported, and valued.
Exactly. And that requires a shift in perspective.
Mhm.
It requires moving beyond self-interest and recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all.
It's about seeing the world through a lens of compassion and understanding, even towards those who are different from us.
Right. And that's challenging,
Yeah.
but ultimately rewarding.
Yeah.
Tyson acknowledges that it's not easy, but he emphasizes that it's essential for creating lasting peace, both within ourselves and the world around us.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Mike Tyson's journey to peace, what are some final thoughts for our listeners? What can they take away from this exploration of his life and his insights?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that peace is not a passive state of being. It's an active process, a continuous journey of self-discovery, growth, and connection. It's about cultivating inner peace through practices like meditation, nature, and therapy. It's about embracing self-love and recognizing our inherent worth. And it's about extending that compassion outward, recognizing our interconnectedness, and working toward a more peaceful world for everyone.
It's about recognizing that peace is not just the absence of conflict. It's the presence of something much greater, a sense of connection, purpose, and wholeness.
And that's something we can all strive for no matter where we are on our own journeys.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. Tyson talks about continuing to grow and evolve. What does personal growth mean to you? And what steps are you taking on your own journey to peace, however you define it? Keep that question in mind as you move through your day. And hey, maybe give meditation or a nature walk a try. You never know what you might discover.